Marjorie told me. I haven't told her.
Yes, she told you.
Yeah,
Oh, that's.
She's like, she sent me a DM. She's like,
Yeah.
to go for I was like, awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, so good for
Well, I
you.
don't know when this is gonna, so I could talk about it because
Yeah.
that's gonna come out on the 9th of May.
Yeah.
So if this isn't gonna come out for that,
When
time,
is it? When do you think we're gonna drop these?
What
'Cause
is
I-
it
we
for
got-
the 9th of May?
Okay, cool.
Okay, well, then
Because
good.
I got a scoop. We have a scoop.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch.
Oh, you tell me when.
Yeah. No, we're fine. It's,
We'll be before then.
yeah, because we're cool. Because we got to edit them. All right.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, we'll get to talk about that. Perfect.
You got it, man.
All right.
Jeb, can you just put in
Act like
We're gonna cuddle.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're gonna spoon.
Yeah.
Those aren't pillows.
Straight, like
Yeah, no.
No, towards me. Cheat it. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
There you
that
go.
way.
Yep. And then you can
Okay.
just cheat.
Okay.
We're not fucking with you.
You're good. You're good. I know. Just left,
know.
right.
I know. Okay. Okay. All right. We good? All right, everybody. My next guest. It depends on the type of wines you drink, but if you're a Hospice to Rhone person, he needs no introduction. If you love wine, I'm sitting here with. He was named the #1 wine critic in the world recently, Mr. Jeb Dunnuck.
Hey, happy to be here.
Thanks, man. A little about Jeb. He was an aerospace engineer by training, and he grew up in a farm in rural Indiana, where 2% milk was the beverage of choice and wine was hard to come by. He traveled extensively throughout the wine regions of Europe and the United States, where he quickly developed a passion for the wines of the Rhone Valley and the Rhone Ranger movement in California and Washington. He launched the Rhone Report publication and website in 2008 and began releasing a quarterly newsletter reviewing Rhone variety wines from around the world. And in 2013, he was approached by Robert Parker to join the Wine Advocate team, and he gave up his engineering career and wrote full-time for the Wine Advocate. And in 2017, he decided to leave the Advocate and go back to his roots as an independent wine critic, launching his own publication and website at jebdunnuck.com. Welcome, Jeb.
Ooh.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, man, you're hard.
Cool, man. So let's just jump right into it because you're a busy guy, and hopefully you'll come to New York at some point, and we'll get you on a podcast proper. But let's talk about an aerospace engineer. Where'd you go to school, man?
Ball State University.
Oh, so you
home-
stayed, yeah,
Homegrown.
homegrown. and like, was it when you kids you were fascinated with rockets? Why aerospace engineer?
In college I loved computers. It was kind of through a love of computers,
Okay.
and I started out as a degree in marketing, and then I switched it to computer science, and then I really wanted to work for Lockheed Martin, and
Yep.
so that's how I got out of college. So I missed the interview that was scheduled for Ball State, and so I hounded them. I called them, and they let me drive down to Virginia, and they met me off site for an interview at Lockheed Martin, and I drove down and I got a first job at Lockheed. And so I moved to upstate New York in, I don't know the date, 1998 or 1999, somewhere
Okay.
in there.
And so, in your little intro, you drank a lot of reduced fat milk. How did you get into wine?
Hey, 2%'s like in the middle, man. It's like, passion, 2%.
He's like, come on, man.
Oh yeah, I had 3 older brothers and a twin sister, and I think literally we were going through 3 or 4 gallons of milk a day or something.
Oh
It
my
was just,
God.
we were just
Dude, that
milk
does
crazy.
sound so homeland, heartland.
Yeah, I was on a farm, 80 acres. It was a good place. I would never live there today.
Yeah.
But boy, as a kid growing up, it couldn't get any better.
Yeah.
So I did work abroad
Okay.
in 1996. I lived in London, and then I traveled through France. And so I kind of fell in love with the idea of kind of European culture, and so that was part of the drive of working with Lockheed. I worked on a operating system that was for a Navy helicopter that was going to be based actually kind of in England. I was hoping to be able to move overseas. And then I kind of always loved wine. And I used to drive. I lived in Binghamton, New York, and I would drive to a climbing area called the Shawgunks, which is a famous climbing area. And I used to pass this little wine store every time. And for whatever reason, I stopped over there one time and went in and bought a bottle of wine and loved it ever since. So I wrote notes. I went on bulletin boards. I used to hide $20 a week from my wife, so I'd go out every Friday. I'd go buy another bottle of wine, and I was on a small budget.
Yeah, no, I know. I drink way above my pay grade. And I read somewhere, didn't you work you worked at a retail store just for a stint?
I did. So I was in Lockheed Martin for a little less than 2 years in upstate New York. Then I moved to Boulder, Colorado, and I worked for Ball Aerospace. And it was like 2001. And then, so I joined a bunch of tasting groups. And so I would go to like 3 tasting groups a week. And I used to drive. I had some friends that lived in in Fort Collins, just an hour drive, and I would do that every week. And so I took a job at Applejack's Liquor in Denver, which is a high volume. And I stocked my fair share of Yellowtail.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It was such an eye-opening experience. And it was so educational for me because, if you're geeking out on wine and you're on wine bulletin boards, and then you go into a high-volume wine store, you see what the general consumer, how they view wine, how they buy wine, what they spend on wine. It was just, I realized how much I didn't know, first of all.
Yep.
So it was humbling, and I just loved it. So it was a great experience. I did that for just a year, and then I got the fuck out of there. But it was good. I lost money.
right, because
I bought a bottle every time I was in there.
Like that little 15% discount wherever you think you're saving money, but
it was a net negative. Yeah, that's for sure.
And so, why did you? What led to you to say, I'm going to write notes? I mean, obviously, I can see. Like Parker was a lawyer. There's certain fields, like Parker was a lawyer. I went to law school. There's certain things where there's detail. Obviously, there's got to be detail in aerospace engineering. But what led you to start the Rhone report?
So I had all these notes. I was pretty prolific on Cellar Tracker, and just loved writing about wine and thinking about wine and everything about it. And then it was 2008. Okay. I had my wife left. Tracy left for a holiday or something. So I had a weekend free, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to create my own website. So I thought, hey, I love Rhone varieties, and it gives me enough variety because Rhone varieties are growing everywhere. So it's not being too specific. So I thought I'll do the Rhone report, and I loved them anyways at that time, and I'd been to the Rhone numerous times. So I just built a website. So I did it myself, and it started as a blog, and then God, I just hated the blog vibe that was out there, and so I said I'm going to change it to be a publication. So I'm going to actually make it a little bit more professional. I'm going to do a PDF. So I'd write in Word, then I would put it into a PDF, and I'd publish it every 3 months. And I did that for 3 years for free, and then I moved to subscriber base for 2 years, and it took off really well. And then I was kind of at a breaking point. I would my wife and I would commute together in the morning. We would get up pretty early. I would drive in at 6, and I'd drop her off at like 6:30. She's a teacher, and then I would work, and I would pick her up at 3:30. And then I have a normal life from about 4 to 8, and then I would write for the Rhone report from about 8 to 2 a.m. every day. And so
that's gangster, bro.
So at the end of it, I remember it was funny. We'd be driving in the morning, and I had if I hadn't spit as well as I'd done, or I was just exhausted, I had taped a postcard I'd bought from Chateauneuf du Pape on my visor. I put my visor down, and there was this, the beautiful castle on the hill with the sun, and it was like my motivation to why am I doing this to myself?
I love that.
And so it was doing really well. It was growing. I was getting 100% growth in those 2 years, and so I'm like, well, maybe I can make a go of that. And then I had an email from Bob Parker. Who said, hey, why don't you come work for me? And that was a hard offer to say no to. I have huge respect and admiration for Bob. And so I was thrilled to go work for him. So I quit engineering at that point, and then worked for the Wine Advocate for a little less than 5 years.
Yeah. And I think when you left, when you made the announcement, it had to do with, because there's so many, the challenge with, you said it in the seminar, but first of all, it's your opinion, and people should drink what they want. But then when you have some of the larger publications, you have 35 people talking about it, so you can't get a sense of the palate. So somebody's 93 could be, you know what I mean? It's just too hard to zero in. So what is it about having one unique voice that?
Well, so as you just described it perfectly. The idea that everyone tastes the same is ridiculous. And so the goal of a critic is not that you should always agree with them. The goal of a critic is somebody that can give you some guidance and some help to find wines that you want to like. And so you do that. A critic does that by being consistent in how they describe wines, how they view it. Do they accurately describe the style that you can understand it? And are they consistent in their scoring so you can help give them some guidance? If it's a panel, or if there's 50 people, on every single region is a different person, I don't know how you calibrate or how you use that information. So I think if you're going to use a critic, you should be smart about it, and you have to know who that critic is, and you have an idea of, hey, what do they taste, what do they like, and how that's how it works.
Yeah.
And so,
and I love what you said. I tell people, they're guideposts for me, right? It's just a guide, right? I don't have to like everything you like, but I love that. But you started, as a single critic, but last year, you expanded and you brought on a wonderful friend, a guest of the podcast, Audrey Frick.
Yep.
And I hear you Bob Parkered her from 1 White Street.
I did. I tell you, it took me a long time. I tell you, I struggle with it. So the idea, the thing is that you do have to know your critic, and I think that one person can't cover the world today. So
Right.
you have to have more than one person if you want to offer coverage for different regions. And so I knew Audrey really well. And so when I was at the Wine Advocate, she would do all these import tastings for me. She'd come over and help, and I just have the utmost trust and admiration in her. And so when I was trying to think, hey, there's so many Italian wines out there. I know she worked at Frasca. She knows Italian wines fabulously well. So I said, hey, why don't you come write for me? And she was like, oh, what? And then she kind of came back, so maybe. And then so we just did it kind of on I would pay for the reports type of thing. And then she was really stressed with 1 White Street, and I'm like, I have to get somebody full time. And so we kind of just we started looking to do the best we can. And finally, I was like, come on, Audrey, please work with me. So she left that, and she'll be full time. So she's going to cover kind of Brunello and Piedmont and any blue chip Italian wines. And then she's also going to cover Champagne. So we're going to now cover Champagne.
That's
and
awesome.
she's going to take over Sonoma from me.
Okay.
Which gives me a little bit more time because I've been incredibly swamped, and now I can maybe have a little bit more freedom on time to do other regions or wines or retrospectives. And we'll bring on Oregon as well.
Oh, nice.
So we have a new full-time
Wow,
critic.
That's super exciting, man. Yeah, she's super cool. I'm so we're doing this, and people would, like, she just sent me a little thing, and I was like, I said, you can trust me, I'm your friend. I was like,
on
good for
camera.
you. Everybody, man. I love Audrey. She's the best.
I tell you, it's so hard, especially when you do when you create your own business in an industry like the wine industry, where you travel. I mean, you're always in not really compromising situations, but you always have to have a very good sense of integrity in what your job is and how you represent yourself. And so you have to have a huge amount of trust in people. Yeah. And so it's Audrey has all of that. I just think the world of her. So I'm thrilled to have her on board.
Yeah, good on you, man. And so we're back at Hospice. What do you I mean, everybody's saying it to people, but what are you most excited about to be back at Hospice, Rhone, man?
I love Hospice. I've written and I've said in the past, I think it's one of the best wine events in the world. I really think the consumer that comes here are not like score obsessed. They love wine. They love to learn. And so the quality of the consumer is top notch. You get great producers. And I think you see there's a vibe in Paso Robles, and it's driven a little bit by Rhone varieties in general, but not always, of just camaraderie and friendship and sharing wines. Yeah. And so it's just such a great event.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna fuck, marry, kill you, bro. Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. Who you fucking? Who you marrying? Who you killing?
I'm gonna disappoint you. I don't fuck any of them.
He's like, I'm moving to Utah because I'm marrying all 3 of them.
I'm a free love type of guy, buddy.
Awesome. Jeb, thank you so much for spending some time with us, man. We'd love to get you in the studio at some point. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Hey, JebDunnuck.com. I'm out there on all the social media channels or whatever. But thanks so much for your time. I'm thrilled to be here, and we'll make it happen in New York as well.
Brother. Thanks, man.
You bet, buddy.
Hang on. Yes. Oh my God, that was a brilliant answer. That's going to be hard to beat.
I know.
So good. Do you want me to airdrop one of these too? It's really good.
Yeah.